Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
Yes, yes, doctor.
Yes. Now, there are two types of flooding. One thing is the internal flooding. That means the roads are getting inundated. Now, when Mayor Sirisenakure was there, it's a UMP mayor, there was a system of cleaning the gullies like every month. So that, you know, they take out the sand and whatever yogurt cups and whatever thing that gets collected there, and they remove them. So whenever it rains, even very hard, all the very heavy day, all the water gets into the drainage system. So there were no internal flooding at that time. I can't even remember. I lived near Tumulla, but now Tumulla, for even a 5 minutes rain, it gets flooded.
Right.
So we must get back to a system like that, and it should be properly supervised. CMC has over 100 engineers. I was amazed that they have opened up a new unit called, I think, Land Management and Environment. Now, how I got to know that is, when I was campaigning, went to a house and the lady was telling me, doctor, for 3 days I am trying to get these tree cuttings removed from here. So I called the solid waste division. He said, it's not our duty, it's this new division's duty. So they don't talk to each other, I guess. So I had to phone the other unit and I couldn't get through. So then I had to phone Abans to get rid of those tree cutting. So it's a system like that. We have to see that the officers do a proper job. You know, from 8 to 4 or 8 to 10 o'clock in the night, whatever it is. Garbage collection should be done at night, because people are not at home when they come to collect most of the time. And you know, there are several things about traffic. We should not allow the heavy trucks to travel during daytime, creating blockages. There are a lot of things that we should put into right. About the flooding in the canal system. Now we have a canal system, okay. Now you talked about the Bere Lake, that UD has a program, very good. But there was a system in the olden days where the excess water from the Kalani River was pumped into the Bere Lake. There was a pumping system, and through the Saint Sebastian Canal, the water is brought into Bere to flush Bere, and then it goes to the sea. No, there were systems.
Same is at the Gulf Fort.
Yeah, these are the systems created by either the Dutch or the Britishers. Now, that's why I say we must get back to basics. And talking about haphazardly, you know, built high rises, you know, there are narrow streets, not even 8 feet wide, right? These high rises are coming up, and there are ordinary residents who have lived there for years, you know, 30 years, 40 years, living in a single story house. Now, on the right hand side there's a high rise building, on the left hand side there's a high rise, there's a high rise building behind, and across the road after 8 feet you get another high rise.
So doctor, the thing is, there are streamlined processes in place at the present juncture. There are necessary stakeholders, law enforcement agencies.
This is my point. This is my point. How did they manage to put up all these
Most of it was put up during the previous regime.
No. During the last 3 years. When I looked at them, still people are not occupying most of these buildings. The approvals had been given during the last few years.
Doctor, the other thing is, now you have always campaigned for professionals, more and more professionals to get into politics, as you're the best example for that. However, don't you think that at the local government level especially, which is our focus of today's discussion, there's a lot of thuggery involved as well, right? Yeah. So how are you planning to deal with getting stuff done? I mean, getting work done requires thuggery. Do you disagree?
I worked as the Chief Medical Officer for 24 years. No politician approached me with any intimidation. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, because you were working as a medical professional, but if you are elected, you'll be working as a politician.
You are saying that other politicians will intimidate me. No, I don't think. Now, even when we campaign, a lot of people respect me. That's why they are putting me forward, as I didn't want to become the mayoral candidate. But most of the people, most of the other candidates think I should be the mayoral candidate because I am educated and so on. But
if you don't get the mayoral candidate, will you then resign from the council?
Why should I? I just wanted to be a councillor.
You just want to be a councillor.
Yeah, I just wanted to be a
Nadeem,
councillor.
I would like
and
to
Do you think you'll be,
here.
for example,
Represent the
let's take
Havelock Town
Mr.
ward.
Mayadunne was elected to Parliament on the JVP's national list.
Yeah.
Served one day in Parliament and then resigned so that the JVP could replace the professional with the politician.
No,
Do you
no,
think that
not
that
in-
might
not
happen
in-
to you
not
as
in
well?
my
That
case.
after you're elected, they might
Not
ask
in my
you to leave?
case. I just want to see that all the departments are functioning properly because I know their functions.
Shahul, yes, you can.
I find this very. There's a saying that blind leading the blind. So now you have the SLPP, who has now on numerous occasions have said, like different interviews, there's different mayoral candidates, right? So at one point, Milinda said he was the mayoral candidate, and he has said it on a few occasions. Now today we have Dr. here who also is proposing that he's a...
No, he did not mention at any given point that he's a mayor candidate. He said, but parties are requesting him to be the mayor candidate.
But again, I think Milinda is the mayoral candidate, if I'm correct, right?
So there is no mayor candidate that has been announced by the Sri
but
Lanka
again,
President.
Milinda is
no
saying that he's
official
the mayoral
announcement,
candidate. Yeah, Milinda keeps on saying he's a mayoral candidate.
But does
Even
it
you
matter?
can say that, Shahul. You can probably
No,
say
I'm not. It's very
No, I'm
clear.
just saying, any
Again,
individual can make a remark.
see,
Well,
I
the
get
thing
it.
is, if
Again,
Mr. Azad Saleh does lose the ward, then you're going to have to find another mayoral candidate.
let me just say this. Now you have two parties. Now again, in any political party, if you're going to have a council, you need to have a clarity in terms of who the mayor is going to be. We have very clearly explained that, right? Azad Saleh is the mayoral candidate. Now, if you talk about the SLPP, we have Milinda on a few occasions saying that he's the mayoral candidate. Okay, again.
So how is it blind leading the blind, by the way?
Now the funny thing is, Milinda is saying he's a mayoral candidate. I have something very interesting to share, and I find this to be, again, this is not a reflection on anyone from my party. This is a personal opinion of mine.
No, you can't make personal opinions here, Shahul. If you
Fine.
make a statement, it should be
Again,
represent the
this is my personal
Yes.
opinion as a candidate.
as a candidate.
As a candidate, this is my personal opinion. I find this extremely bizarre. Or, again, I'm not into conspiracy theories, nor am I into making connections, but I find this a very interesting point. Rosie Senanayake has spent 150 million rupees on her ad campaign.
How do you
And-
know this?
Again, it's on the papers, and it's a very well-known...
Which paper was this, Shahul?
Sorry?
Which paper was
This was
this?
on Sunday Times. I can show you the clipping as well. 150 million rupees was spent on...
You know,
we are-
you know that you need to take responsibility for all the statements that are making, Shahul. So yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
150 million was spent on an advertising campaign, and it was sent to one agency. And the same agency, Milinda is a consultant of the same agency that is the advertising agency for Rosie Senanayake. And he's a consultant. You can check his name on Facebook and you'll see that under his profession, he's a consultant of the same agency. So again, I find that very bizarre. And in terms of waste management or solid waste, there's
I want to,
approximately 517 people.
I want, Shahul, I want to interrupt you for a second here. You said that Rose Senanayake is spending 150 million on her advertising campaign. How much is Azad Saleh spending on his advertising campaign?
You know
Because
something,
there's a lot of
again,
advertisements
you know,
on the papers, by the
You
way.
know something?
Yeah.
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
It's a very good question. Again, we don't have bond money, right? We have not made 13 billion in the last 3 years. If that was the case, we would have had it in every paper and every TV channel
Well,
and
we've seen
radio
a fair few
channel.
advertisements.
Sorry, sir?
We've seen a fair few advertisements. And
It's
you know,
there, it's very
in a leading
few.
daily quarter-page advertisement costs what, around 120,000 rupees? In a
Believe it or
leading
not,
daily
we have only given, again, if you know...
What's the budget?
It's a very small amount.
What is
Again,
it?
I am not privy to such information. Again, when Azad Saleh does come into another Face the Nation, which he does frequent, you can definitely ask him by yourself. But again,
you
our
mentioned
budget
about
is
the
not that
of
high.
the budget of the UNP, which you are quite privy to, but you know the amount that your party itself is spending on the election
Again,
campaign.
if you
But that's
really
okay. Let's talk about the garbage issue that you were talking about.
Yes, so again, solid waste, for example, this is 2018. I have a copy of the amount of employees who are there. It's 517. Senior members, there's 8. Primary level and secondary level alone is about 480. Now, in terms of the garbage level, it's an inefficiency that is really involved that creates such an issue. Now, in terms of the garbage issue, I think it is perhaps the single most important thing that the CMC has to address within its tenure. And the CMC has to address it in two different levels. You have a long-term plan, and you should have a mandatory short-term plan to alleviate the issues that the citizens are facing. And these problems have numerable issues, including health risks as well. In terms of the solutions, if you really look at it, if you look at other countries, let's take, for example, Sweden. They are not only able to take their garbage issue, they also monetized it. Other European countries are sending garbage to them so they can recycle it to fertilizers, and they charge a premium as well. If you really look at why Sri Lanka does not have its own recycling plant, it's not because proposals have not so far come into the island, but whenever proposals did come in, whoever was in charge wanted a commission. So we propose a recycling plant has to be there in Colombo, and that will sort it out. Because the
how is it going to be any different? Because you said you said the authorities, or the political authorities in the past, wanted a commission, and therefore these projects never started.
I'm not going to.
We still have the same authorities.
No, sorry.
The political authorities in the country.
I don't want to give
same.
slogans.
So how is it going?
I don't want to give slogans, but I'm saying this because Azad Salih is going to be mayor. But in terms. But again,
also part of the political
let me just
authority.
finish this point. Let me just finish this point. Now, the UNP, for example, wants to address the garbage issue by creating a railway track all the way to Puttalam. So I'm asking a small question. After Puttalam, we create massive landfills, and it falls and kills people, right? Injures and breaks houses. Are we then going to take that landfill and take it to perhaps Bentota or Hambantota, or perhaps some backyard of certain ministers who will own the land and thereby take rent whenever we put trash? Those are not long-term fixes. This is what I mean by blind leading the blind.
Puttalam, there are a lot of donkeys.
So again, they think people in Puttalam are not people. Right? So again, I am saying long-term solution is having a power plant. But what are the things that we can do now? Because Samir, even in the last show, was asking about solutions now. So I'm going to give you solutions now, which we can do right now. If you go to any developed country, now we are, for example, separating garbage. Why are we separating garbage when we can't do anything with it? It's just creating more bureaucracy, and people are being hassled further. It's not getting recycled. It's not getting dumped in a particular fashion.
So what's the solution?
Solution one, let's reduce this hassle, right? I propose for each, now let's say, for example, there is no proper dump sites. There is no proper places for people to dispose garbage. So if you're going into small vattas, in Maligavatta or Vanathamulla, those trash are getting put on the outside,
yeah,
which is causing a health hazard. Why do that? Why risk our health?
How are you going to do it?
I am proposing, like in a lot of industrial countries, that in each lane we should have different containers for different items, and then the CMC should be responsible, or whoever we outsource that work, to come and collect those garbage every night, not during the day, during the night.
And the garbage that you collect, where are you going to put it?
Again, as I said, this is a twofold question. One is a long-term thing, and again the second thing.
But for right now solutions, you're talking about right now. So
right now,
let's say you're elected, Mr. Azad Salih becomes mayor. You've gone and you put the dumpsters.
Yes.
Hypothetically, you put the dumpsters at each neighborhood. People go and put their garbage there. It's separated
the funny
or not
thing
separated.
Is,
where are you going to take that garbage?
Now, again, this is not a question that I can answer yes or no. And I know you're going to smile at that, right?
No, but
that's why when I answered this question,
you said that the UNP was dreaming.
Let me just clarify this, Nadeem. Let me just.
Where are you going to put it?
No,
if not in
Nadeem, what we propose is to have a project done within the first 2 years, right? We want to finish that. So again, we are trying to have a solution for the first 2 years. Instead of pushing it to Puttalam is a long-term thing that will never change. So we are saying mitigate the risk factor and have something as a short-term solution, which is perhaps making sure that the area that certain people live in are clean and proper, as Doctor said, perhaps mitigating dengue.
Doctor, corruption is something that is endemic in Sri Lanka's political stratas, from the bottom to the very top. Combating it isn't going to be easy. How are you planning on doing that?
At CMC, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we are the watchdog, the councillors. We have to get get to see how the officers are performing and take public complaints very seriously if there are delays, as Ashan said, and see why there are delays, because sometimes they make delays just to get something of the people. Of
Doctor, the other thing is now bribery is also something that's very endemic, and another thing that we see is now at local government level, there's a lot of duplicity and a lot of time wastage that goes on, and a lot of wrong attitude. So an attitudinal shift among staffers working at local government body level is also important. How are you going to manage all of this so that the work gets done effectively, efficaciously?
You are right about that. When okay, you say I talk about the past. When I was there, I always said we are public servants. The people are not our servants, you know. The customer is the king. We should serve them. Now that should be the attitude, and I will try to inculcate that into the minds of all the workers, not only the department that I was heading, but also in all the other departments. There are so many workers like in recreational departments and charity commissioners department who could do a lot to the people, of the poor people. And Shahul was talking about parks. You know, there are enough parks under the municipal authority. We should, you know, what you call, develop them and have gyms in those parks and the sports centers, so that the poor people also can use, you know, like the rich people who go to gyms. Like that, we can easily do that. It won't cost a lot. Now look at this. Last year for garbage collection, the CMC allocated 1.6 billion. This year it is increased to 2.5 billion, 50% increase. For what? Now that money could be easily utilized for recreational purposes in the poorer areas, right? And then for garbage dumping, last year they had allocated 300 million. For 2018 it is 1 billion. So total about 3.5 billion they are going to allocate for garbage, solid waste management. So why for garbage so much, right? I remember 10 years ago it was only 300 million, right? Now it is 8 times or more. So we can actually use this money in a better manner to see that people live in comfort. There are conveniences like public toilets, you know, in the city, proper public toilets, and see that, you know, even the disabled will have a chance to enjoy the life in the city, in the parks and so on, and see that, you know, people live happily and comfortably in the city. We can easily use that money.
Dr. Karivasam, now given the high-rise buildings that are in the Western Province itself, now I think there's over 5,000 condominiums coming up in the Western Province. How is our fire and rescue situation? Now, for example, if there's if a major fire breaks out in the Nelum Kuluna, right? Are we equipped enough to handle a situation like that?
I think so. The fire brigade got training in the USA, Sweden, Netherlands. I know in a lot of countries. And
do we have the equipment, the capability to rise to that level?
Well, to that level, I think you will need helicopters to go to
That's what I'm
do this.
asking.
But yes, but I think they must be having. I'm not very sure, but I think because I'm out of the council now for 3 years, I'm sure that they have some plans, because they are very well trained. Colombo Municipal Council Fire Brigade is very well trained, and I think even the other fire brigades are also trained with I think Netherlands help. Even they were even given ambulances for this purpose, and if there are shortcomings, of course our local council under SLPT can train them in a better manner to handle such situations.
Ashan, the drug menace now, it's coming to be rather serious. No, what do you plan on doing about this?
So now, better that you asked that question. We were going to, we are in the campaign of going to house, unlike spending 150 million and some other spending that much of money. That is not our policy.
So looking at Shahul and saying it, is it?
Mr. Asad Sali also spending a lot. That is evident. However, so when we were going to house, we went to some, as we all discussed, that some what we call as vattas. So when we go to those places, what they say is they don't have erudite and academic idea or what is happening or the political ideology, manifestos, and what we are going to do, that those are irrelevant to them. What they ask is, Mahatya, if you can give some money to us to get some drugs, then we will vote for you.
Right.
So that we experience when we were going to house, especially in those slums areas.
So we are anyway, where even at national level politics, Sashan, we are used to this the butt packet and the Araku Kala mentality.
That's correct. As what you said is precisely correct. Now the main political parties, what they have done is they have resorted to provide that, and you know, I don't want to mention the names of some political figures that came up and went and they passed away, and some people are still, politicians are still coming. They take this as a chance to come into politics, but that is not our way of coming. So what we said was, we are not permitted and we are not agreed to give you some finance to buy the drugs to you, but what we have actually, some of the candidates, they have initiated some awareness programs. And
but awareness programs have been done in the past, no?
That is true, but what should we do more than that? We are spending 150 million rupees for election campaign just for a small ward. That ward may be having about 10,000 people, voters. But why don't you, the major political parties, the candidates who are spending that much money, can't they spend that money to get these people out of that drug menace? That is there. So that question should be answered from the people who have already now spent lot of money to this political campaign, and they could be the stakeholders of this.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. But before I go, I just want to ask a quick question from Shahul. Shahul, you live in a luxury apartment condominium in Colombo. Now, you mentioned about a free system where you have plastics in one garbage dump, and then you have the others, and this has to be placed in the end of a lane or so on and so forth. That's what you mentioned. I'm trying to figure out, would you do it?
Now, I was actually unable to complete my sentence when I was speaking.
Would you do it? That's why it's
of course.
Let
me again. I was trying to explain it in two different ways there. Now, if you are living in an area where it's congested, when you have small houses on either sides, it's not practical for them to have garbage bins, broken into different colors, etc. So that's not practical. If you really look at Sri Lankan municipal garbage sites, and if you go to areas such as Maradano, Alutkade, etc., way back when we were smaller, they used to have a little dump area where they used to come and put the trash, right? So those areas are unutilized. So people are already used to coming and putting certain the garbage in certain areas. I propose to keep these bins there.
No, but when you were small, there were no condominiums in Colombo like the ones
as to the other question, in terms of houses, what we propose is that houses can buy these dustbins at a subsidized rate so they can keep it in their residence.
Let's talk about condominiums. You know, Shahul, you must be paying around 20,000, 25,000 rupees for maintenance cost. So your garbage issue has been solved.
Actually, it's not. I don't know who gave you how you know where I live at, which is a bit scary, to be very honest. It's very good journalism. It's very good journalism, I give you that. But again, whether you live in an apartment or whether you live in a...
So you don't have this garbage problem in that apartment complex that you're living in?
You know, you have the same thing. We have to still divide the garbage before we put it out.
Of course.
So there is no change. So again, what we are doing is we are changing the system into something more efficient. My biggest concern is not the apartments, right? My concern are the smaller houses everywhere where they do not have a place to put their garbage. They really don't. So what are we going to do about that? Are we just going to ignore that? And I think this is a very sad situation when we talk about politics or reform. We're talking about reform to certain people. Reform should not be for certain people. Reform should be for all people, and it has to be inclusive. So our mayor stands for everyone.
Thank you very much, Shahul. We need to stop at that. We need to go for a short commercial break. When we come back, it's the final round. Stay connected, stay with Face the Nation. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're with Face the Nation, the final round. 5 days more to go for the local government elections. Who would reign supreme? Let's talk to Ashan Nanaikar, attorney at law. He is the Secretary Legal, United National Freedom Front. Ashan, why is your political party not just a political party, but different? The time starts now. 1 minute.
I'll give one example for that. Now, these main political parties, UNP, SLFP, Joint Opposition, all of them, it is pleased to talk about one particular topic today. But when you take the main political teams, do they talk about these particular issues in their campaign? Have you ever heard Mr. Rajapaksa talks about what their candidates would do once they won the local government authorities election? Except they are talking about they should fight with the terrorism, they should rescue the country, they should defeat the federal constitution. They are the talking points of Rajapaksa camps. When we take the UNP, what they talk, they say to change the foreign policy or take the economy into higher standard, give the vote for the UNP. That is what they talk. Take JVP also the same. They only talk about national policies. We are the only political party came up with a manifesto which has only addressed the particular issues where should be addressed by the local government authorities. For instance, when you are going to remote area like Tavalama or Opata area, you don't go with to change the constitution. They don't concern about the change in the constitution. They don't care about appointing Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa as the next prime minister. Even though they appoint the Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa as the prime minister, will their problems be solved? No. Those are the points that we have discussed. That is the distinction between our party as a new party which has been registered 150 days ago, and we will take more than 100 electorates, we win votes, and we will make up the decisive power in the local government authorities after the election.
Thank you very much, Ashan Nanaikar, attorney at law. Very quickly, Ashan, who is your mayor candidate? Is there a mayor candidate?
No, we have no mayor candidate. Right. The simple reason is, even Mr. Asad Sali will be defeated. If the other member in the vote, if he is very strong enough, he will be defeated. He is out. He has to go home. I don't know how the way that SLFP works. Somehow he will manage to come to the CMC, and the same. I don't think that good doctor would come as so. But they are, as long as the vote system is concerned, if you could not go first past the post, you are out from the contest.
Thank you very much, Ashan Nanaikar, attorney at law, Secretary Legal, United National Freedom Front. Shahul Shahabdin, UPFA, additional candidate. I'm not going to pose a question, but you can rebut the points that Ashan did mention and say what the future holds for the CMC as far as the UPFA is concerned.
So certain parties have 150-day-old dreams. So again, I don't think it's my position to really rebut what he's saying, because we do not stoop that low and try to,
but he makes a very valid point there. He says that even if you're defeated from a particular ward, there is always a way to get into the council. So that will happen.
Again, why would Azad Sali be defeated in his ward? We are very confident that he is going to win. And in terms of what Ashan is saying, that his party is the only party that is coming with a policy, well, guess what? We also have our policy statements for Colombo. And as I reiterated in the beginning, we have 8 points, 8 major issues that we really want to look at, and we will definitely work towards achieving those goals. And if you take the UMP, for example, the last 3 years is a testament to what they're capable of. Now, do we want that? Do we want a mayoral candidate who has lost the general election? Again, that I'm not quoting out of my place. I'm merely stating facts. Rosie Senanayake lost the general election. Now you have the Porter, they don't know who their leader is. They're confused as to who their mayoral candidate is. Do you want a party like that to come in and lead the CMC, which is the epicenter of commerce in Sri Lanka? Or do you want a man such as Azad Salih, deputy mayor, has been in the council since 1991, and he has been an impartial force. And everyone knows that, right? He has been an impartial force. So he's going to be working towards the good of the people. And again, if I come in, definitely I'll be working for the people, because we're not behind power. We want to do good for people. And UPFA is the best way to go, the beetle leaf, because the president is the only man right now who we can say very clearly has not been involved in any corruption.
Thank you very much, Shahul Shahabdin, UPFA additional candidate. I now move my attention to Dr. Pradeep Kariyavasam, Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna candidate. He's contesting from the Havelock City ward, am I right?
Havelock Town.
Havelock Town ward. Dr. Kariyavasam, future for Colombo, and what sort of change can your party instill within the Colombo Municipal Council? The time starts now.
The SLPP will work for transparency within the municipal council, and it will see that the ratepayers will get the services, not as in the past, you know, due to bureaucracy they had to sometimes wait for 6 months, 1 year to get some things done. We will see that the machinery will be oiled so that it will work faster, and that the officers will be responsible for whatever tasks that they are supposed to carry out. And there are lot of issues with regard to traffic congestion, not only traffic congestion, sometimes because of the one-way system, sometimes through narrow roads, the vehicles you know, dash through the roads, and it's very dangerous. So we must put up speed limits, and that's one example that I'm going to tell you of the things that we are going to do. About building planning, we have to see that, you know, this done properly, and we will see to it that it's done properly, and the city will be beautified, not harming the general life of the citizens.
Dr. Kariyavasam, I want to take a cue from what Shahul said. Who's the leader of your party?
Well, our leader is President former President Rajapaksa.
But President Rajapaksa does not even have the membership of the SLPP.
Yeah, but President Sirisena also didn't, when he contested, didn't have the membership of the UNP.
But he contested under the symbol of the swan at that time.
Yeah, but then lot of parties, you know, it's either Bulat Kole or hand symbol. So, you know, there are sometimes combinations of
so you say your party leader is former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Where is Professor G.L. Pires standing in this equation?
He's the president of the party.
So he's not the leader?
Well, he is not the leader. Obviously, everyone knows that President Rajapaksa is the leader. That's why he goes to all these meetings. There are thousands of people come to see him, right? And it's the downtrodden masses who come to see him. That's why we have a Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, and he's the symbol actually of those people, you know.
Thank you very much, Ashar Nanaikar, attorney at law, secretary legal, United National Freedom Front. Let's hope for the best, and let's see whether your party is able to secure at least 100 seats. That's what you said in the local government election. But be mindful that there are over 8,500 seats that are on offer. So let's see whether your party can be the formidable force that you are saying that it would be. Thank you very much, Ashan, for joining us this evening on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pradeep Kariyavasam, SLPP candidate. Let's hope and pray that you would be able to secure a seat first in the council from the Havelock Town area. You have to win your ward, and then let's hope that, as you did suggest before, that you may be the mayor of Colombo Municipal Council. But again, I leave it completely to the people to decide whether their policies and you are eligible to be in that position in the weeks to come. Thank you very much, Shahul Shahabdin, UPFA additional candidate. A 30-year-old being in the forefront. Nice to have you on the show as well, Shahul.
Thank you, sir.
On a very lighter note, did you don't know the budget for Azad Salih's campaign, but did Azad Salih pay any money to you to come here today and mention his name? It was like a prayer.
I believe in the agenda and I believe in his...
Thank you very much, Shahul. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. It's always nice to see young people expressing their views and thoughts for a better tomorrow, for a better Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, Nadine, for joining us this evening. Thank you very much, Charita, and thank you very much, Attorney at Law Sonali Vanigabaduke, for joining us this evening on the show. We did invite a member from the United National Party also to attend tonight's show. However, for best reasons only known to the party, did they not field any individual on our show tonight. However, the people will decide on the 10th of February whether any political party is capable enough to take Sri Lanka forward, take their respective councils forward. As I always do, I leave you tonight also with a quote. Be bright, vote for what is right. Do not wait without going to the polling booth on the 10th of February 2018, because at the end of the day, you can make a change. That change is never too late. Take care and good night.